Welcome to Shine, Delusion, Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries. I am Vicki Todd, and together with Dr. Pat, we will learn to push the boundaries of our minds, to think delusionally, and create fertile ground for our big dreams to seed, grow, and manifest. Each episode, we will gain more ability to think delusionally and cultivate beyond boundaries faith that we can accomplish dreams which seem unreachable. Shine, Delusion, Shine is a springboard to believing, dreaming, and thinking beyond the ordinary, and a catalyst to living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life. You are born with dreams, gifts, and talents you are meant to use to make this world brighter. Let your delusional dreams shine. It all starts now.
Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Pat, and as you heard, I get to take this beautiful ride with the most incredible artist and beyond, Vicki Todd. But most of you, what you should hear about here for a minute is that we're going to talk about something that you've heard about. There were even movies made about this, but yet we seem to have a hard time grasping the idea about how cause and effect work. Now, if you've watched the Matrix films, including number 4, 100 million times, and you still don't get the butterfly effect, thank you, Vicki, for explaining it to everyone. What a great show. Flutter your wings, change the world. Yes. Wow.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so the original idea of the butterfly effect was actually a scientific weather thing that started in the early 1960s. And so somebody came up with the idea that if a butterfly flutters its wings in China, could that cause a tornado in Texas or a hurricane in Florida? And so that's kind of a depressing way to look at it. But I thought, what if we tag this to our delusional dreams? And, by us following the dreams that God has put in our heart and maybe flutter our wings just a little bit, it doesn't have to be a huge flutter. What if that could cause someone else out there to say, oh, they're doing it, I want to do mine too. And so that's the purpose of today's show.
And I think we're actually seeing the effects in a much bigger way too. I had a conversation with someone about the solar flares. And, I have a couple of people that are real science people that really look at that all the time. And I just asked them, okay, well, how do you sleep at night? I mean, you're so obsessed with this and what the impact is. And, and they explained it as the butterfly effect.
Really?
And yeah, because what they were saying was that, normally we heard about the earthquake in Russia.
Yeah.
And we still don't even know the impact of that. But they were talking about the distance a ripple can go. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
flutter of a wing, the distance, the traveling power of that, right?
Right. I mean, we had talked about in an earlier show, I think it's probably maybe February, March. We just started the show in January. And I, was looking at all the stuff I'm doing, the art, the sculpture, begin writing an ancestral memoir, this podcast. And I was having one of those, usually tired down moments and thinking, am I making any progress? Is anybody out there listening? And that evening, I saw a very simple illustration. I don't even know who posted it on Facebook, but it looked like a spiral. And it said, you may think you're going in circles, but if you have a new perspective and turn it on the side, it's like it's a wide base and it's going up, 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 in smaller circles. Your progress is really going, upward, more focused, much more than you think. And that gave me so much inspiration in that one evening. And that's such a simple thing. And so, I was thinking with the topics that we've talked about on this podcast, Shine, Delusion, Shine, to me, one of the most important things is your I am statements every day. I am creative. I am powerful. I'm a powerful artist. I'm a powerful writer. I'm a powerful entrepreneur. I'm a powerful mom. I'm a powerful teacher or coach. What if one person or more start saying, yeah, I want to start doing my I am statements every day, and that builds up and builds up and builds up, because whatever comes out of your mouth is going to go into your heart and spirit. Your words are very powerful, people. And so that is going to eventually change your beliefs and change your actions, and you become what you're saying. And
Yeah.
so that's huge butterfly effect for, somebody to say, I'm going to start doing that too. Or, we've talked about the call, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. What if people say, oh, I had this really great idea the other day. I think that was my call. Maybe I should go do that, right? And so I think it's a beautiful process that maybe, the quote from Marianne Williamson, I hadn't looked in that in a long time. I'm going to read it because it's kind of long, but
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, so our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And that visual, I've got the visual of the butterfly fluttering its wings, but this quote reminds me of when my parents were still alive and going home to visit during Christmas in Happy, Texas. And we go to our little church for the Christmas Eve service at night. And the way they did it was, somebody would light their candle, they would light my candle, I light the person next to me, and it just filled up the church and it was so beautiful. And to me, that's another visual of this is, I'm letting my little light shine. I'm going to light
Yeah.
yours today.
Yeah. I love that analogy too, because, part of this is getting the sense that we make a difference.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, the hardest thing for people to grasp, that the moment of action today has an impact. And yet, you enter a world like we are in. For me, 22 years ago, you don't think about the impact. You're just called to do it.
Right.
And it's until you get a Jessica in who or get a report like I got this morning from the AWS server. And I had to call them and I said, what is this? What is this large chunk of data that I'm going to get hit $1,000 for? Are those like people? What is that? It was a it was, I can't even tell you. All I know is that the color that it represented on the bar chart was larger than any other set of data we had.
Wow.
And I just looked at that and I thought, and I don't usually look at things like this, Vicky. I
Yeah.
don't go in and look at that. That is so far away. I don't know why I did that today. But the point is this. Of course, we want to touch the lives of people here.
Right.
Of
That's what
course,
you're
you
all
do,
about. Yeah.
but you too, and your art. I mean, most of the time, we're not going to know.
Right.
We're not going to know. We're not going to know until somehow, some strange way, something happens and it comes back. But what you're talking about is an invitation to take our gifts and talents out. And I think that's
Yes.
what we should talk about.
Okay.
What is involved in that and how that butterfly effect really starts. I mean, the flutter of a wing, if you see it, it's just phenomenal, isn't it?
It's absolutely phenomenal. And the quote from Glenda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz, you've always had the power within you, my dear. I love that so much. And so, keeping with our butterfly theme, that quote is perfect because there's two things about a caterpillar morphing into the butterfly that fits our delusional dreams. One is that in the little caterpillar that's just, crawling on the ground, it is born with discs that hold everything that it needs to turn into the butterfly, the wings, the body, the little legs, the antenna. But it's dormant within the caterpillar until it goes into the cocoon, literally becomes goo. It becomes caterpillar soup. And in that process, which seems, it's dark, it's gooey, ooh, what's going on? Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, that would be the belly of the whale where everything is fallen apart. But that's when those discs come out and create the butterfly within the cocoon. The second thing is when the butterfly finally breaks out of that chrysalis, it doesn't just say, yay, I'm out, I'm strong, and I'm flying. It has to work its wings a little bit because they're damp, they're weak. And so by them working it, it pumps fluid into them. So it takes a while. And then, they get strong enough. And so to me, we are born with gifts, our delusional dreams, our talents, our skills that we're meant to use to make the world brighter. but sometimes they do lie dormant. In my case, oh, art is a frivolous hobby you do after retirement. Do not major in that in college. It's not going to make any money. And, I kind of held on to the dream a little bit. I got really pushed to the back burner, especially, through marriage, divorce, miscarriage, getting my doctorate degree, moving to Connecticut and teaching for 17 years total. But it was always there in the back of my mind. And
Yeah.
so it's 10 years ago right now that I had quit my tenure professor job and turned 50 in the fall. I turned 60 in October. And all of a sudden, it took me a while. I had to strengthen my wings. It took about 4 years to say, you know what, I'm still not putting my art first. And I finally did it. So now, I'm doing paintings, I'm doing sculpture, I'm writing a book, I'm writing plays. And so it's absolutely possible. You're born with the gifts. It may have been so pushed to the back burner that you've totally forgotten what they are, but they will bubble up and it's never too late.
What do you think it was? I mean, because I get asked this question all the time, especially when I'm interview. They ask me, what was it, Pat? I mean, we looked at your career and your background and, what happened one day? Did you just transform into an alien and decide to go in this direction? And I never really have a good answer. Up until recently, I haven't had a good answer, but it's the same question for you.
Yeah.
What was it? And a lot of times for me, I say timing. And I don't know what I mean by timing, but it's a really good answer to have people stop asking you the question. But
Well,
thought about it, and it really is true. It was timing.
yeah. Well, my timing, I started meditating with Oprah and Deepak Chopra in spring break of 2013. Remember when they started doing the CD series?
Yeah.
And I had
Yes.
never meditated before. And I thought, well, this sounds like a useful tool. And I waited till spring break because I thought, well, you'll have time. It was only 15 minutes, but when you're first beginning, 15 minutes feels like 2 hours, right? And so I started doing it and, the monkey mind thing going on. Well, I kept up with it. And that summer, Deepak, in a visualization, he said, visualize yourself on a beach. There's a blank piece of paper next to you with a bottle. And he said, write down, your biggest dream, what you want to become. And I mean, the top of my head blew off because I saw an artist huge in my mind.
Wow.
And so, I did the visualization, wrote that on the paper, put it in the bottle, and threw it into the ocean, which he said, this is going into the field of all possibilities. And in the visualization of that meditation, I saw my maternal grandmother, who was also an artist, and she was over there in the distance waving at me. And I thought, oh my God, she's going to take my dream and it's going to happen. That was my big push. It took me 2 years more to finally quit my job and to figure out what I'm doing. But that timing was divine timing to come into my life. And, when you hit that point,
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell has that quote that it becomes more painful to not follow your purpose, your
Yeah.
call, than it does, to stay with the fear of, oh, I can't do it. And for me, that was absolutely or that was the absolute thing. And I'm sure it was for you too.
It's interesting. Let's stay with Campbell for a minute because when you talk about the heroine's journey, or you talk about many of the archetypes that, Campbell looked at, he has a famous step that you're going to talk about here. And I didn't realize it was the last step. It was, I don't know why I didn't realize it was the last step. But let's talk about this, the idea of a gift for the people, because when I started this, I had no intention. This was to
Mm,
take a positive message out in the crust busting show.
mm,
All talk radio was just depressing.
mm.
So we decided, it was about five of us women, by the way, that really started this trend.
Yeah,
And we all had our different platform, but it was to help people,
yeah.
even though we didn't say we're doing it to help people. I don't know if that, am I making sense to you?
Absolutely. I mean, when you follow your delusional dreams, the dreams that God has put in your heart and you're strengthening your wings. And when I say strengthening your wings, maybe you take a class, maybe you do a workshop. God is going to start putting these things in your path. And so, like for me, being an artist was kind of the overall umbrella. it wasn't until 2018. I had it in the back of my mind that, oh, I think I want to sculpt. And people were saying, oh, Vicky, you've got too much else to do. Don't waste your time on that. And I love it. I'm good at it. And that's not me. That is a God-given thing coming through
Yeah.
me. But, that is so gratifying for ourselves. But you can't stop there. The last thing of Joseph Campbell's heroine's journey, is the elixir for the people, because we're supposed to use these things to help the world. You've gone through the whole process, some of it kind of dark and bad, but you've come out of it. So you've got wisdom, you've got wise woman magic, you've got new skills and talents, new courage. So, what is it that you can bring back, quote unquote, home and give to the people? And for me, that is the relationship with my mom. And this is really on my mind because writing my ancestral memoir, I just wrote the chapter about 10 years ago, summer 2015. I had quit my job in spring 2015 from Quinnipiac University, tenured chair of my department. And I waited until after that semester to call my mom in Happy, Texas to say, I've quit my professor job. I'm going to do art. And believe me, she was not happy. And so she literally said, I'm so embarrassed of you. What am I going to tell people about my
Huh.
daughter running away from her job? You are going to fail. You will never make money on this. I don't know what I'm going to say to people. I love you more when you do what I want you to. It was
Wow.
devastating.
Wow.
And I worked with a couple of life coaches, and one had her, signature statement, "Why are you looking for milk in the hardware store?"
That's
And I'm like,
right.
whoa, that just boom, because basically she's saying, "Why are you going to your mom for support? She's never gonna give it to you." Another life coach who I met in Redmond, Washington, um, told her, my mom said, "Oh, no one wants your art on their wall. You're going to fail. I'm so embarrassed of you." And she said, "That's verbal abuse. Your mom is verbally abusing you." And I was like, "Oh, no, she's not. No, she's not." Well, she suggested a book, and it's Reality One, Reality Two, Narcissist and Empath. I knew the words, but I didn't know how they, fit with me and my mom. I learned so much, and it was so hard. Fast forward to December 2019, she's in memory care in Amarillo, Texas, has delusional dementia. Our whole relationship during this whole time has been, this tug of war back and forth. And in that December 2019, she was so soft, Pat. And
Oh,
she, went back and she's like, her thing was shopping. She said, "Oh, wait, we need to go. We need to buy you some new shoes and clothes." She probably thought I was still in school. And she said, "Well, I want to introduce you to the director of this place." And I said, "Okay." And she literally said, "This is my beautiful daughter, Vicky. She's an artist in Santa Fe."
yeah.
My jaw hit the floor, but in my mind, I thought, do not say a word, do not ask a question. You take that.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
such a hard process. In 2017, when I was doing my first show, with you,
Hmm.
she quit talking to me for 6 months. And I was so just depressed. And my brother said, "You're mourning a mother who's still alive." Well, having her say that to me in 2019, that's my elixir to give to the people in my books, my plays, my artwork. You can make it
Yeah.
through these obstacles, through these people who are trying to stop you. Don't let it stop you in your tracks. Keep moving forward.
Yeah. I love that we're talking about this because even the slightest movement
Mm,
on our part forward, even the slightest movement creates an energy. I call it the motivational X factor. It's that thing where we're so stuck. And, this is my area is all about stuckness because that's been my journey. But what you're talking about, and a lot of kudos to you because those of us that know what that feels like,
yeah,
that is a tough journey, Vicky. Believe me,
it was
it's
hard.
harsh. It is. And you didn't respond to your mom. You just took that moment in.
Yeah. And that was the last time I saw her because that was December 19. COVID hit, right?
Oh, right.
So we weren't supposed to go anywhere. And she died in October 2020, not of COVID, but during COVID. And
Hmm.
my personal opinion, and I'm going to have this in my book, she had told me, throughout my life that when she and my dad had first gotten married in 1950, A man had come through Happy, Texas, and heard my mom and my aunt singing. My mom's soprano, she had a beautiful voice. She sang in church
Wow.
all the time. My aunt, alto. And the man was a promoter, and he invited my mom to go on the road with him and sing as a professional. And she turned it down because she had just gotten married, and what would people think in this small West Texas town?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that was her thing is you can't follow your dream because I didn't get to do my dream.
Yeah.
And so to have her say that to me, it was just open
Yeah.
acceptance, amazing. But she's giving me all of my stuff, my plays and everything. And so I'm so thankful.
Part of that too, and because I've been in a situation, what I've come to know about the people close to me that have said those things, it came from their own fear that they
Yeah,
went through.
yeah.
It wasn't so much they wanted to see me fall flat on my face, but what they were saying is, I've had to make similar decisions. The journey is rough. I mean, if I had $1 for everybody that said to me, one, you're never going to be able to start a network, who the blank do you think you are? That was, and they used that word. Um, and it went on. And then, pointed out to me that there are no women broadcast owners. And why would I even call us that? I mean, it just went on and on and on
Yeah,
for over a decade
yeah.
until it didn't. And what started to happen was I've got a quote on my wall. I just sent it to somebody. It's from Leaves of Grass, and it starts out, dismiss whatever insults your soul. See, that's Walt
Oh,
Whitman. And that quote is so beautiful. The lines that follow it describe what happens when we do that. But that's what you've had to do.
yeah. And I truly think that's part of my purpose in life. Yes, gifts of art, sculpting, writing, playwriting. I think that the overall arching umbrella for me is to get other people, especially women,
Hmm.
to get out of the box. You may have a spouse, you may have a parent, you may have a sibling, a coworker that says, "Oh, well, no, you can't do that. You'll never do that." And like you said, it usually comes from their own feeling of
Yeah.
smallness. And one thing I learned when that life coach was giving me information about verbal abuse is the crab bucket mentality, verbal
Yeah.
abuse. And so it's this visual of all these crabs in a bucket, and one is trying to climb up over the edge, and the other crabs keep pulling it down. And so that's exactly what you said. Sometimes it's their own fear, their own smallness, and you kind of put a mirror in their face, and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not doing what I could be doing," right? And
Yeah.
so you have to put the earplugs in your ears, put the blinders on, and just keep moving forward, even if nobody is acknowledging you.
But let's talk about the fact that we have to be awake for it, because the Alexa that may show up for us may not be the Alexa that we had in our bucket list or
I
something.
know, I know.
I'm a perfect example, and so are you.
Yes,
I mean, what did I go to school? 10 years to be called Dr. Pat? Yes, that's why you did that. You didn't go to become a consultant. Yeah, the research and the awards, that was great. But no, that wasn't the divine plan.
right. And aren't you so much more fulfilled now?
I don't even know what that other life would have been like. I mean,
Oh,
I can't, I mean, I don't even have a sense of it,
I don't
right?
either.
I
I
don't.
don't
Now,
either.
but I will go back and do organizational consulting now on my terms,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I never looked back, Vicky.
Oh, me neither. I mean, I'm still in contact, via Facebook, and it may not be that, we're, posting comments to each other, but I see what people are doing, at the university, and, the new semester just started. And I look at it, or like graduation, and it's just kind of like I'm an observer watching a movie. It's like, oh yeah, that was nice, but I'm so much more fulfilled now. But the idea that it may look different, there's a really great brief story, and again, Women Who Run with the Wolves, I love that book, but it's the butterfly dancer. And so it's like, in Arizona or New Mexico, people are at one of the, native ritual days. where tourists can go in and they're there for hours in the hot sun waiting for the butterfly dancer because they think it's going to be this little petite ballerina. Well, finally, this woman comes out and it's a middle-aged, kind of robust woman, and she has on little kids' butterfly wings, and she's like stomping the ground, and the dust is flying. But the point was that she's the wise woman. She's been
Yeah.
through this hero's journey or heroine's journey. She has the wisdom, the wise woman wisdom, the magic, the courage. And so she's embodying these really much deeper, stronger things. And so it's kind of like our delusional dreams. God can dream bigger than you can. So don't put him in a box, let it
Exactly.
be something bigger.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's a show we should talk about because that is exactly what I just experienced last month. In sports, there's an expression if you work with a great coach, and the expression is, are you playing not to lose, Pat, or are you playing to win?
Wow.
And if you think about playing not to lose, right, you could
Mhm.
see that you rarely will take the shot,
Yeah.
right? But we do that in life as if we're
Yeah.
waiting. Tell people how they can find out more about you and what's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with?
Probably the best way is I'm on both Facebook and Instagram at Vicky World Art, VICKI World Art. I also have a website, vickyworldart.com, so you can see a couple of the plays that I did. You can look at my artwork, my sculpture. There's also an email if you want to contact me. My message is, this idea of fluttering your wings. Let's do it, but not just to create this wonderful life for ourselves. Let's be that candle lighter to say, I've lit my candle, I want to light yours too. Because what if, and we are, it's not even a what if, we are creating this domino effect, this huge ripple effect that everything on Transformation, Talk Network, everything that we do with our delusional dreams, a simple little post or a reel,
Yeah,
a newsletter that you put out with an inspirational message, a book that you write, whatever, everything is getting others to do the same. And so that is lighting the world, and we need it more than ever right now.
I love it. Vicky Todd, everybody. I'm Dr. Pat. Next time, I can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about. But again, people can find out what you're up to, see your art everywhere at your website, right?
Yes, and
All right.
Instagram, Facebook.
All right. Vicky, thank you so much for today. For all of you out there, in order to get those wings to flutter, you have to set your mind that you want to do it. You don't even have to know where you're going. But if you can wrap your mind about taking one step, whether Vicky was a paintbrush, it doesn't matter. Me, a microphone, take the shot.
Yep, do it.
Basketball analogy. Thank you, Caitlin Clark. All right, everybody. See you next
Thanks,
time.
everybody. Bye. Thank you for listening to Shine, Delusion, Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries. I am Vicky Todd with Dr. Pat. Tune in with us each fourth Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more simple, repeatable habits to identify the dreams, gifts, and talents you were born with. Expand your mind and believe your dreams can become a reality. We invite you to tap into the flow of the delusional realm with us to make this world brighter. For more information on living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life and to connect with me, visit vickyworldart.com.